Who wants a pot of coffee? I just made coffee. You want a cup of coffee? Sure, there you go. Who wants coffee? Anybody else want coffee? Who wants coffee?
And now it's time for the man with the caffeine, the new tropics for the brain. It's Coffee with Mike. Hang in, hang tight, grab your cup, and let's get this thing started.
Everybody, welcome back to Java Chat. This is Coffee with Mike, sitting here with our guest today, Andrew Chesnutt, who is an instructional designer. Did I say that?
Mm-hmm. I actually had a client once call me an educational engineer, and I think it's much better. So we'll go with educational engineer.
We'll go with educational engineer. It's an EE rating, in case anybody wonders. That just means double excellent. I come up with anything, dude. It's all good. He uses a brain-based approach to learning, which allows like an easier time for listeners that are not necessarily in the room with you, and helping them to actually retain information, which is a real cool concept. And I just had Nick Velasquez, who is the author of Learn, Improve, and Master. Book is coming out real soon. I got to connect you two. You guys would get along real well. And the whole concept of learning is known. The concept of retaining and then utilizing.
Yep.
That's a completely different and applying is a completely different game. Nick talks about that too. So I'm sure we're gonna get into this a little bit today, which is awesome. Give us a little bit of background about you. Where did you come from? I mean, how does anybody get into? Because, when somebody wants to become a teacher, they go to school, get their certificate, and they become a teacher. But when you're talking about your deal, it's not a teacher. The educational engineer is a very valid description. How does that work for you?
So the educational engineer, what I do for a living, very easiest way to put it, there was this kind of joke years ago that when you were doing your taxes, you'd bring this shoebox full of receipts to your accountant and say, "Here, you figure it out," right? So you probably could do it on your own, but
they would take it, put it in the middle of the room, blow it up, and see what happens.
Exactly.
I know that guy.
Just randomly come up with stuff. Exactly. But right. But that's exactly what I do. Is I take your shoebox of information, all of the stuff that you have, these things you want to get out of your head, this brain dump you've done, and I turn that into something that is teachable, so that people will understand what you're saying, but then it's also measurable.
Nice.
And I do that in a way that is that works with your brain. Knowing really cool stuff, like if I write in cursive or I print, it's two parts of my brain that process that information. So it's just little stuff like this that we've picked up over the years to do that. To get involved with this, the story was I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, lived in Toronto, then
Bills.
in Cleveland. Yeah, exactly. I think it's illegal here. We have to like the Bills. No matter how bad they're doing, we have to like the Bills. I used to live in Cleveland.
I got New Yorkers here in Las Vegas that will swear by the Bills no matter what, dude. It's awesome.
We always think, though, at least we're better than Cleveland, because Cleveland, I think, last year was 0-12.
Who?
So Cleveland Browns, yeah, I think they were, yeah, right.
Is that an expansion team?
I know, right? They were
all right, no hating on the Browns.
It's all good. But their team is their fans. Oh, that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
So I moved into.
Imagine we got the Raiders here in Vegas now. Imagine what we're dealing with.
I can imagine. I can only imagine. But so I moved from Cleveland back to Buffalo again in my hometown. Been back here 15 years, and so decided, all right, fine, I need a job. Started a call center for a major mortgage company, and I have always loved teaching. I was a TA in college back when I was, many years ago. Mm-hmm. And so I decided there was a position opening for a trainer, and I figured, what the hell, give it a shot, see what goes on. Got the position. And loved it, absolutely loved it. And so I fell into that as a career. That was 15 years ago, and I've been doing it ever since in a variety of different sectors. I mainly am in finance and real estate at this point, are the two parts that I do. But yeah, just absolutely loved it. And it was just, I was in the right place, the right time, got my application in, took action on something I saw. I said, hey, I see that application. I want to do that for a living. I want to make this, I want to make a career for myself. So that's how I got into training.
And then from that corporate side, you've now graduated into becoming an architect. Essentially, you basically are designing learning systems for people. Is that correct?
Yep. In the corporate world, I was the onboarding instructional designer. So me and my boss and our team would take training from a new client, take what they have already, work it into, kind of put a spit shine on it, and then deploy it to a call center reps. I was laid off at one point and ended up just kind of being like, okay, I sent in about 300 applications to different jobs, and I think I had 4 interviews and not a single job offer. And by that point, it's like, all right, the universe is telling me something. I need to go in a new direction. And so I ended up starting my own business. I gave myself 3 months to get at least enough clients to keep myself afloat. I did do that. That was 4.5 years ago. And I have been enjoying the self-employed thing. I have a small team around me of marketers, instructional designers. So it's
What do you
attribute
that whole thing to? Because I'm 48. If I try to go out and apply for a job now, I've been so long self-employed that age and experience become an issue for any employer. And I've talked with employment coaches about this because a lot of the HR departments worry about whether or not you're going to be around. But I mean, is that something that you found was a besides the universe telling you, hey, dude, move?
You need to go another direction.
Yeah, you need to go. But is that something that you ran into?
So I'm 43 now. So I don't necessarily think it was an age thing. I think it was just a flooded market, and they were looking for very specific criteria. I don't have a degree in instructional design. I have one in business administration, and they were looking for that. It tends to be a very academic world where they want to see a whole bunch of paper on your wall, and that was not the direction I wanted to go in. So it doesn't mean that I haven't had a lot of training in it. It just means that
more
they
the
want
qualifications. Yeah, they want to see paper.
And that was not.
And we as entrepreneurs know what paper means.
Exactly.
No disrespect to any of the academia that's out there that is valid. It is quite valid. However, a lot of times it gets a little overvalued, especially, and this is my opinion, guys. You can love it or hate it. I think a lot of times academia gets overvaluated. Especially when it comes to the fact that you had already been there, done that in another corporation, had the experience, had the success rate. The proof's in the pudding. And for our entrepreneurs, that's really all we ever look for is, I really don't care if you went to school. Can you break that bottom line? Can you help us break the glass ceiling? So obviously you stepped out, you got into your own realm, you're doing your entrepreneur thing. You said you work in real estate and finance now.
Those are the 2 main industries I work in right now. Yeah.
What do you enjoy so much about those?
To be honest, I just fell into them. So that was pretty much it.
It wasn't an enjoyment thing. Somebody got me drunk one night and that was it. I was in. They said, I got a bridge in Brooklyn. You can sell this for me. Come on.
Pretty much. No, it was close enough. So the finance thing I got involved with just because of the center that I was working for it was mostly finance based. So
Gotcha. When
I stepped into my first formal training position, it was for a large mortgage company. And then I moved on to a couple of other large banks as well. So it was something I was in. I kind of like numbers to begin with. Getting my business degree was also one of those things where it has a lot of numbers involved and was something I appreciated. Real estate was sort of an interesting thing. I got into that with one of my current clients.
Here comes the real. Let's hear it. All right.
So I looked at a bunch of different people. It doesn't matter, political party, wherever you are, people that are successful across the board. The one common factor I found was that they are all invested in real estate. Every single one.
Yep.
And so it was like, there's something going on here. My concept and how I operate when I want to learn something is I go out, I find somebody who has been successful at something that I want to be successful at, and I mimic the behavior.
Sure.
And
success always leaves clues. It never changes.
Exactly. And so for me, I was looking at it going, okay, every single person that I've seen that's done well for themselves, it always has real estate. And that's been their one big thing. And I had just read Rich Dad Poor Dad at the time, changed my life, by the way, just absolutely changed my life. Would have been 4 years ago, because I had already had my business-ish at this point.
You're late to the game, brother. That's a little late to the game. Rob released that way to hell a long time ago.
Yeah. No, I was definitely late to the game on that one because I was, So I think that book comes along into your life when you're ready for it. is I think what happens with
that along with a few others like the old Think and Grow Rich deal, the How to Win Friends, Influence People, all that kind of, all those books all come in at certain times in your life. That's absolutely true. The reason that I brought that up is because I want people to understand something. When Rob wrote that book the first time, someone in real estate had suggested it to me, and I said, okay, I'll take a look. Read the book and went, holy shit, is there more? And then of course he came out with Cash Flow Quadrant and all that other stuff. That was at least 10 years ago for me. I don't remember exactly how long, but it's more than 4. And the fact that it's still relevant 4 years back, and I argue that it is still way relevant today, especially because of all the stuff that's going on right now, should show you guys that he's saying this is a gold piece, guys. The information on and being invested in real estate, that will never change. It's called the oldest method in the book of becoming wealthy because it is. Hopefully this earth doesn't crack in half, but real estate's not going anywhere, you guys. And the fact that Andrew decided to go and teach in this realm after learning about Rob, and I'm sure a bunch of others by now, and I got a few more to introduce you to if you want. Mike Van was on here. I've had Daniil Kleiman and Dan Stofsky, all guys that are successful and actually out there doing it, as well as teaching it. And they're great guys. I should connect you with them.
Definitely.
But the idea that book 4 years ago brought you into a realm that you're now vested, I'm assuming also investing, but brought you vested into teaching this stuff. What kind of things did you see? What kind of lessons did you see that you could pull in anywhere, like in life in general, what have you?
Well, from that book, it totally changes your mindset on money. We're trained to be poor.
Yeah.
Time we're trained to be poor.
Yep.
And it sounds really awful to say that, but banks are not your friends. I used to think it's like, oh great, I'm getting a 1% a 1% interest rate. This was post 2008, so that was a good interest rate at the time on a savings account. I feel like I'm doing really well. And then I realized that inflation.
You're old enough. You remember
I'm losing money.
you remember that? You remember back in the 90s when interest rates were at 21% for CDs.
Yes.
It made more sense to stuff money into the bank accounts and to the CDs than it did into real estate because you couldn't get that kind of a return.
My bank was paying more money. My bank was paying more money on a savings account than I was paying on my credit cards.
and actually, their arbitrage was backwards back then, because I remember in the late 90s when I had a mortgage license, that we were pulling people off of 17. Remember when Alan Greenspan came out and reduced the rates? We were pulling people off of 16, 17%, dropping them down to 7%. And then it got dropped again to 6%. Everybody was going bonkers. Mortgage companies were printing money, essentially.
They do that anyway.
The subprime market was going bonkers as well. I mean, we worked in both side conventional and subprime, and it was amazing what you could do back in those days. And that was before the ninjas and stuff like that, the stated loans. But back even in the 90s, it was a good time to be vested in the banks. What people don't get is, like you said, they're not your friend. They're a leveraging tool. That's it. You use them as much as they use you, because the reason they reduced the rates is because they weren't making any money on the arbitrage size of things. Remember, when you deposit money with them, they're just going to lend it out again so they can make their interest and pay their debts.
And they lend 10 to 1.
Exactly. And they lend 9 to 10 to 1. Yeah, easily.
They literally make their own money. And so that's one thing that a lot of people don't realize, is that when you put $1 into your bank's making between 5 to 1,800% on that money.
Easily.
And we can show, you can show that it's not something that it's just like, oh, we think they're making. No, they're making like 700-800%.
They show you. They show you that they're making money. If you really know how to look at it. No, it's not at all. What was funny was when everybody was saying, well, you can invest in $1,000 CD and make 1%. I looked at that and I was like, $10.
Good, you do that
in 5 years. $10 in 5 years. I make 12% in 1 week.
Lending on real estate, the lowest end. Lending on real estate, the lowest end that we charge is 8 to 9%, because that's about what the corporate loans are or commercial loans are right now.
Yep.
So you can be doing so much better. Again, if you do less than 3%, you're making less than 3%. You're losing money, because average inflation is 3%.
And that's a default. Yeah, like you said, because of the inflation rate as it is, you're not breaking even. That's what people fail to realize. Well, it's even. No, not really. Because you got to remember all of the other stuff that goes along with that. There's still other fees and things like that. You're losing. So,
Yeah.
okay, back on point. Oh, I forgot to warn you. I forgot to warn you about this. Rabbit holes. They show up, I run.
Oh, I run for rabbit holes, often to my own demise. So
Yeah.
I get it.
Well, and in our case, we end up talking about everything under the sun. So you took into that. You went into real estate. Who are some of the people that you saw that were the successful ones? Any recognizable names or anybody that you took example from that really inspired you to keep in?
Kind of some of the, gotta be honest, one of my clients did.
Cool.
Just quick plug for him because he's
Yeah.
working all the time too. His name is Chris Nogle. He had an HGTV
Oh,
show,
I know that.
had done this entire thing. Yeah.
Nice.
And he's one of my main clients. He's actually the one I just had to help onto a podcast because he's doing one right now as well. He's doing his Wednesday webinars. So I gotta be honest, just watching him, because again, my goal was to get, I look for somebody that's a lot more successful in a specific place that I am, that I want to be more successful in, and I latch onto them and go from there. And that's my thing. So I've been with him about 3 years now. I'm his educational engineer. I develop all of the training and stuff that he does. And it gave me that ability to get a deep dive into the real estate market. I'm also a licensed realtor, and just kind of see what this was and start to learn more about the industry itself. So yeah, it became a passion. It became something that I really liked. And I think it's something long-term. And I think right now, especially after everything that's happening, where we have basically had we have foreclosures and evictions have been put on hold for 6 months. And I don't think it's going to be before the end of the year before that stops.
It's gonna hold well into the first quarter. That's kind of plain.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's going to happen, but what's going to happen
is.
when the floodgates open and all of that stuff happens again, and they start allowing it, it is going to be a train wreck. And we're going to have 2008 again. We're going to have 2008 all over again. I know that's what we're doing right now. Is both, I'm trying to kind of think. I know Chris is trying to stockpile as much as we can right now, just ready for that to happen.
It's interesting. There's one of the buddies of mine that I mentioned earlier put out a post recently talking about do your best to work with your tenants as much as you can. And he's a developer. So he works with commercial tenants as much as he works with residentials. And he's like, I just cut one of my commercial tenants' rent in half, and we'll figure out something down the line. This isn't the time to be stringent. This is the time to be allowing and try to figure out how to make things work. Because when the damage begins and the collateral damage hits, I guarantee you 2 things are going to happen. And this isn't something he said. This is just my opinion. Regulations are going to tighten up all over again. In other words, the CFPB is going to start doing all kinds of crazy shit. And the markets are going to tighten down. And as much as we've been in a bull market, that bear is hanging around the corner with a blackjack.
Oh, yes.
And when he swings, that bull's going down. How badly, we don't know. I mean, because we do still, the nice thing that about this is it's not just investors speculating. It's regulations holding off normal process and protocols. When, like you said, when the floodgates open, it'll come in one hard rush with some trail off. But I don't think we're going to be as badly hit as 08. I think we're going to be hit as bad as 08, if not worse, because of the floodgate effect. Because when 08 hit, that was the residential, and then what was it? End of 09, beginning 10 was when the commercial ones started hitting. And they were a little better prepared, but still. So we got a 2-phase deal to look at again. But again,
this wasn't caused by this. Yeah, exactly. This wasn't caused by straight fraud, though.
So
I think why it's going to be
wasn't.
slightly different, because that was the 2008 was straight fraud. Just straight up, no questions asked fraud. And so I think this is going to be a little bit different, but I think the end results could be the same. And it's going to take at least, we're guessing, about 3 years is what we're speculating.
You don't have
anything normal.
You don't have institutions this time that are going to come back with black holes on mortgage notes that don't go anywhere. It's going to come back to investors that have shored up with the right kind of documentation and know their game and know their deal. And they're going to make the push to take care of things. Those that have done private lending, they know their stuff too. Well, a good portion of them do. There's a bunch that are wankers.
You always have the few.
Got a few that are wankers. That's for my friends across the pond. The idea of how we, though, as people that are investors, can stave that off is real akin to what he posted. You know, it's just not a time to be stringent. Work out what you can, get other agreements in place. I mean, years ago, I was taught by a friend who's no longer with us. Money is just an agreement. It's not, it's, what does it say? It's a Federal Reserve note usable for any debts. It's a note. It's an agreement. It says, I will give you this in exchange of this value. I give you this value for that value. And as soon as I learned that, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to make life better.
It's a fiat currency. It is based on nothing and hasn't been since 1972, if I remember correctly, when he came off the gold standard.
When he came off the gold, there's cool stuff that I've heard in the pipeline about other potential things coming back. So see. Anyway,
it might be. We'll see. But
yeah, we'll see. We don't know yet. I know nothing. So in your opinion, what do you think is the biggest thing that's lacking right now when it comes to people that are trying to put that information out? I mean, let's say I wanted to teach somebody about finance, and I want to dump my head into a pot and say, okay, let's stir a soup. What do you see as being the biggest challenge besides ego?
Exactly right. We are in major information overload right now. We have so much information around us. You can learn anything on YouTube. There's Udemy. There's LinkedIn Learning, which used to be lynda.com. There's all of these different places where you can learn whatever you want. Mm-hmm. I tell clients all the time, it's like, you can go and learn whatever the hell you want on YouTube. I mean, it's YouTube, that's fine. I do
YouTube
it,
University.
Hey, I need to fix this. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
The problem is the quality of information that we're getting, because none of that is curated. I have been on Udemy and I've purchased courses where I'm like, dude, I would have spent 10 times the amount for this and still got my value out of it. And I've purchased other courses where it's like,
good. Send me those links if you don't mind. I'd appreciate it.
Which one? Yeah.
Send me the links on the good ones. I'll pay the $10 for the good ones. Absolutely.
Well, true, right? Yeah, but it's really hit or miss. Same thing on YouTube. You might get good information, you might not.
Maybe.
So maybe, yeah. And the other thing is that, I mean, a real estate course is a real estate course. There's a lot of the similar information. It's more in the process. So people's processes are different. And so what we're doing, what I'm advocating with my clients right now is focus more on your branding. I'm not going to I'm not just going to take, intro to real estate. I'm taking Andrew Chesnutt's intro to real estate course.
Yep.
You follow somebody that you really resonate with. And so that's the problem that we're having right now in just the world is people will go and just find, oh, well, I'm not going to spend, because real estate courses are expensive, just to stick in, into that realm. Real estate courses are expensive. It can be $5,000-$6,000 to get into one of these start. Whereas I could go and learn the same thing on YouTube. Well, yes, you probably could, but do you really get the quality out of it, right?
Yeah.
So personal branding is something that we're really hitting hard to be able to show what person's expertise is. Mm-hmm. And so that's part of it. A lot of people are having trouble with seeing that value, and so it's getting that value out there is
there's a big challenge right there. Yeah, that's the thing that we find with a lot of our clients too, is that when you're trying to get a brand authority out there, you're trying to get something that proves the value of what it is that they're doing. Yeah. They keep thinking it's on the technical information. It's like, no, it's on you. People want to know who you are.
The information. Yeah, how you present the information and how you present yourself.
Yeah. With us, it's always the big three. It's like no one gives a shit about what you're offering. They could care less because they can find it themselves. So that comes last. Nobody really cares about your company, although they will once they find out who you are and what you're about. If they like you and what you're about. Once they like you and what you're about, then they'll want to know about the company and see if it has, whatever parameters they think are worthwhile and valuable. Then the information. The information is dead last. And I'm seeing it too. It's in reverse. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're teaching me the same shit I learned back 10 years ago. It hasn't changed. Go find me a better one. But
sure. And when I start with a client, I pull a marketing person. I've got a marketing person on my team, and I pull them in immediately.
Yeah.
From the very beginning, because I want to make sure that all of this stuff is done in a way that they can then take it and run. It's not sort of here's your course, good luck with that. Yeah. There's a full package that I have to do.
I can just totally see that too. That's funny.
Luck with that. I want to make sure the marketing end of it comes in too. So does the pricing. People have zero idea how to price their courses. I've seen. I had a conversation with another client of mine, and she's a realtor, and I'm helping her do kind of become a better realtor course with a coaching program. And she's like, well, I think I'll charge $50 a person. I'm like, put a zero on it. you're worth more than that. You have 20 years experience in this. you're worth more than $50 a person.
Here's a
You know,
YouTube
it's just
video.
the values.
Here's a YouTube video about pricing.
Mhm.
Check. Because you know how about everybody says, check your privilege. Check your value.
Yes.
Check your value. Because there are some guys that are out there overshooting, and there are some people, like you said, a $50 for 20 years experience. No.
Yeah, no. So it's from both ends of things, and we've turned into this Walmart society where we want to get like the lowest possible price. Yeah, it is. I call it Walmart syndrome. And so we end. And I'm not saying like you should go out and just spend money frivolously. There's a difference though. Money is value, and so. Yes, I can learn something for free on YouTube. Yep, it's going to be really hit or miss. I have no idea what quality or whether or not the information is credible.
Yep.
Even if I find a YouTuber that I like and that I think is credible, you're going to be missing some steps. I mean, it's not going to be a complete package.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, exactly. And so putting the value to it as well. Don't a $10 Udemy class is going to get you exactly what you think a $10 Udemy class is going to get you.
Yep.
So if you've got to put the money in. I remember this was somebody we worked with was doing it was his first event. It's called Skeleton. It was down in what was that one? Destin, Florida. And he was telling us one night, he's like, I gave away like what was it? 100 tickets. Now these tickets were $2,000 a piece.
Wow.
He's like, I gave away 100 tickets, or 50 tickets, because he wanted to fill the rest of the room.
Sure.
It was his first event. He had a 200-person room. Wanted to kind of just give some stuff away, and also just giving away to the community as well. So we went to a couple of real estate investor association meetings, gave away 50 tickets. Half of the people didn't even show up.
Oh yeah.
And out of the half that did show up, not a single person did anything with it. Most of them didn't stay for the second day. But just about every person that had spent that $2,000 had actually done.
Oh, they're not going anywhere. Yeah, they're not going to go anywhere.
And they had worked it, and they had actually made it work. And a number of them have become more successful. This was a couple of years ago. A number of them have become successful investors.
Sure. One of my good buddies, who's out in California, used to have a $30,000 boot camp. And boy, let me tell you, the failure rate was less than 1%, if I remember correctly. And it was only because, one, people paid attention to what was being said and took action as the days went on. I think it was a 2-day boot camp. If you're vested, you're not going to waste the time. If you're not vested, I mean, I've got books from other stuff from other that I've either worked at or was a guest at, and I took some of it and I thrown it in. I put it in wherever I could, even though I hadn't paid for it. I was a guest, but it was just like, okay, nobody's teaching this. I better use this. They're different mindset, obviously, on my side versus the other people who are just getting a free ride. It's like, if your mentality, if your mentality is free ride, you're not vested. If your mentality is, okay, I'm gonna treat this as if I dropped a couple grand on it, you'll get value out of it. Versus, again, like you said, the $10 Udemy. So what I'm saying at this point is, don't screw up the opportunity just because it was free.
Yes.
Now, if you don't identify with the trainer, that's a different story. That's, but dude, you got a free ticket to a $2,000 event, and you're gonna just not. That doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, you're missing that. There's no value in their mind.
They don't see the value.
They don't see the value.
Yeah,
that kind of goes back to how the value was built in the pitch. But another story, another time. The value in our own heads, in our own mindsets. I'm always talking about this, is really, where is the value in your own mind for what it is you're about to receive, and are you ready to receive it? And I think if people come in with that mindset, it's a lot easier to see the value in what's being offered, whether that's free or discounted or full boat. And I've learned full boat's just best. It's just, it's easier to vest yourself into whatever you're doing. If that makes sense.
Yes.
All right, cool. Well, guys, it's about time. We're going to take a short pause. Oh my goodness, we've been rolling, bro. We're going to take a short pause. We're going to take a short pause for the cause. It gives about 30 seconds, and we'll be right back. We're going to talk a little bit more about what motivates and inspires Andrew to do what he does. All right, we'll see you guys in just about 30 seconds. And we're back here at Java Chat. We are here with Andrew Chesnutt, who is the educational engineer. I'm digging that. That's pretty damn cool.
Sure. I love it.
Second section of our Second section of our podcast, usually dedicated to things that motivate, things that inspire. Obviously, we talked a little bit about who you respect as mentors and people that you take advantage from. But now we're talking about just personally, what, what wakes you up in the morning, or what drives you to get things done?
I love transferring knowledge from one person to another. Love doing it. I get to that point where my family has they get this look in their face when I go into trainer mode. It's a look. Yeah, you could probably imagine what it is.
How fast do you switch from happy to trainer?
Exactly. For me, it's more, I love that process of learning something. Even for myself, I'm always learning something. And I just, for me, when I go into trainer mode, it's not just, here, let me tell you what I know. It's, hey, come experience this with me. Come join me in this journey so that you can see this, so it can help kind of edify your life as much as it has mine. And that's really something that I like as far as helping out clients as well, is the amount of help that they will be able to provide thanks to their wisdom. And so I guess that's the difference between what you can get on some YouTube channels or what you can get through somebody who's been doing, like the one realtor client who's been a realtor for 20 years, or another client who's a financial advisor for 20 years. Their experience is something that kind of goes part and parcel with their training. And I like being able to bring people into those experiences, tell their stories. And wow, my clients had these amazing stories to tell, help it resonate with somebody, and then teach them how they got to that point and teach them the information necessary to get to that point. So it's really a combination of the person themselves, the person's story, the experience and information that they have grown over a long career. Most of my clients haven't been in the industry less than 10 years.
Right.
And being able to show people how they've been successful, how they've worked, the formula that they've used to do that, the information they've used to do that, and how to then help other people move forward and help them become successful.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool.
And that was, I love doing it. It keeps me motivated every day.
Cool beans. There's always the other factor too about reading. What kind of books have inspired you? We've already talked about Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but who are some of the other authors and some of the other books that you've read?
Oh, a lot.
Obviously, but who just?
Yeah, I try to remember a few of them. I'm between books right now, so it's one of those things where I've got to, you got to take a look. I'm probably gonna have to go back in my Amazon cart.
Yeah. I'm literally between 3 books right now: one on business strategy, one on selling, and one on personal improvement. So it's like a chapter a day.
Personal improvement. I'm in the middle of a personal improvement course right now, and for me, that's been just a major lift. So I've been doing that one. But the next one kind of up on my book list is the $1 Million Habits by Brian Tracy. So that's the next one that's up next in it as soon as I get done with this one course.
That's somewhere in my queue as well. I don't know where, but yeah.
I actually had to put a specific line item in my budget every year for books and audiobooks, just because I have so many of them.
Yeah,
it's a big thing for me. So so I also am one of those. I spend probably as much as a small car on personal development every year, on some sort of a personal development course to help move me forward, on mentors. I'm about to go to a mastermind in Southern California at the end of October. Just stuff like that. Actually talking about Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So that mastermind is part of another group, an event that I'll be in next year with Sharon Lecter.
Oh, cool.
She's going to be there as well. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to meeting her.
I haven't heard her name in a while.
Yeah. She did Rich Dad, Poor Dad. She did, the guy who does the mastermind I'm going to is Greg Reed. He did 3 Feet from Gold. So we're going out to his house in the end of the month. So
you're going to do the knock? You're going to do the secret knock?
Yeah.
Greg's always got it. That's been, so I met Greg back at CEO Space back in, I want to say 07, 08, I think. And he was just getting started with that secret knock deal, and man, killed it. Just killed it.
One of my clients is a sponsor this year. So,
nice.
Or we're supposed to go this year, and it ended up, they just put it on, but there's also a mastermind. So I'll actually be at his house at the end of October.
Yeah. That mastermind we've heard of some really good results out of his masterminds. He's actually, I want to say he's connected to Ben Gay III, who's the last protege of Napoleon Hill.
That sounds familiar.
Think and Grow Rich. So Napoleon Hill had his last protege. His guy's name was Ben Gay III. Not kidding. That is his real name. Great guy, sales trainer, wrote the Closers series, which is very much focused on real estate and timeshare and stuff like that. Great guy. And his actually his business partner, Mark Harris, was also on this podcast. And
Oh, nice. Awesome.
the amount of stuff that actually that whole line, everybody reads Think and Grow Rich, and it's like, guys, that's one of 7 books.
Yeah.
And that's
Another book
not
that really-
including that's not including Out with the Devil. There's 7 more books just in that series alone that gives you the tools and everything that goes along with it. So I mean, yeah, it's why I ask, is because everybody who does read certain books, sometimes it's the same books in a different sequence, sometimes it's just one book in particular just really went
Well, the right book comes along exactly when you need it.
yeah.
So there's 7 books. It'll come along exactly when you need it and when it's right time, right?
Yeah. I keep bugging Mark too. I'm like, but I need a list, dude. Where's that list? I should bug him again this week. I want to get the rest of those, but might as well. What the hell? I mean, just something to do. Besides that, those of the books and of the people, I mean, what other things do you attribute to being inspired? Like, obviously, you enjoy what you do. Definitely good. When you can do your passion, it's not work, or it's not a job, it's work. It's work that you can enjoy. What other things do you think might drive somebody to do what they do? Yeah, I just got deep on you. Sorry.
It's all good. No worries. As deep as you'd like. It's all good. There's
an innuendo in there someplace. Let's not do that. Anyway, just saying.
Right?
Yes, this is PG, folks. So be ready.
What is it? What is that? Out with the rabbit hole.
Yeah. Quickly.
Yeah, right. I would say the number one thing that really drives me, that keeps me going forward, that just through those times when you're just like, what the hell did I get myself into? Moments of business, because there's always that up and down. Is remembering the passion that I have for it. I know it sounds really generic, but you won't get anywhere in life without that passion, and it's different. If you see somebody who really likes a topic, they kind of get up and talk about it. When you talk to somebody that's self-employed, or somebody that is running a business, or somebody has started businesses, it is a completely different sort of, almost, wow, he's a little crazy sort of glim in your eye that you get when you have that passion for what you're talking about. And I think that is what is a huge driving force behind me. So during my rough times, it's that passion for, I want to go out and do this. I want to tell this person's story. I want to hear this person's story. I want to help do this. That is really what keeps me going, is that passion for what I do. There's nothing really else. Starbucks has nothing on it. So it's just that wanting to learn it, wanting to see these people succeed.
You had to mention them. I don't ever talk about them on this podcast, because their coffee is over roasted.
Yes.
And I don't care if you can come after me all you want, Starbucks. I give a shit. Your coffee's over roasted. That's why I don't drink your stuff. I go to indie coffee shops just because it tastes better. Yeah. Anyway, support your indie coffee shops, just in case anybody didn't get that message. And no, I'm not sponsored by anybody yet. But it's open for discussion. Give me a scenario where that really came through. When that whole inspiration, where you were just sitting there like, Jesus, am I really going to do this? And then it's just like, yes, I am.
So I'm at a point right now in my company where I am significantly growing. I'm just pushing hard to get it beyond where I am. So I've done pretty well for myself, but I'm leveling up a lot. And there's so many times in that leveling up process where you're just like, I can't, I'm done.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I feel that one.
It is an incredibly difficult process to go through. Good in the long run. So it's definitely short-term pain, long-term gain.
Yeah.
But there are many mornings where it's just thinking about, oh, wow, I don't want to get out of bed this morning, but I've got that really cool stock course I'm working on. And
there you go.
Or, dude, this just really, really sucks. It's not good right now. I don't even want to get out from under these covers.
Yeah.
But I've got but I've got this great roadmap that I'm doing for this other client, and it's going really well, and I like it. It's keeping that focus on what you're doing versus your problems. Your problems will solve themselves if you set yourself on a path, then say, you know what, I'm going to go in this. This is the direction I need to go in to stop this problem. Now I'm not going to worry about that problem anymore. I'm staying on that path. I'm focusing on the process.
Yeah.
And so for me, focusing on the process is a huge part, focusing on what I do have a passion for, especially when it's like the end of the month and I got to do bookkeeping.
Yeah.
I got to focus on the process.
I don't know what that
paid
number
it.
is. What number is that? I don't remember that number.
What invoice did I go to?
Who,
Then I
who
call up my
used the
bookkeeper.
card
It's like,
again?
what's going on? Yeah, right. What's this magic thing coming on? What's up?
Oh, are we having to use FM to make budgets again? Here we go. FM, in case anybody doesn't know what that means, is an old school telecom term. FN magic is what it comes out to.
Yep.
Which in some cases my old accountants used to call me and go, boy, you're sure lucky I'm a magician, because otherwise this wouldn't work. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll figure out.
little box on my P&Ls that just says, and a miracle occurs.
Yeah, exactly. How much of an atomic bomb did you have to use this time, Jerry? It's like, let's put it this way. I was at least 10 miles away when it blew up. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. Guys, we're joking. It honestly, we have, I'm sure you do. We have great accountants that advise us and make sure that we're performing within what we need to.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's good to have a team around you. So
you gotta
accounting is not something I'm really good at.
No.
And it's something I can outsource.
Me either.
I had a mentor of mine when I very first started in business, and he's based out of London. Now he's in Sydney. And he's like, I was pretty good at what I did. And then I found somebody better, so I hired them.
Yeah.
And so it's, hiring your weaknesses, working with your strengths.
You follow some pretty well-known themes within the guru realm, if you will, citing people like Gary Vee, et cetera, et cetera. They pretty much talk about the same lessons. Hire your weakness. If you can't do it, find somebody who can, whether that's Fiverr or an actual human.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not one of those things. A lot of people will just start spewing forth things that they've heard, and that's great. Implementing it is what you need to do. And for me, I implement it. Again, these are people that are by far richer than I am and by far more successful than I am. So they have to be doing something right.
Yeah.
So taking it, picking and choosing what works well for me in this, so whatever I need from them, picking up these little tidbits here and there really is a critical skill. You can't do everything. You might have a general idea, and a general idea of what's going on, but sometimes you just need a really deep knowledge. And instead of having to learn that, sometimes it's better to let somebody else who's had the experience do it.
Oh yeah. I considering the people that I have around me, I know what my weaknesses are. So I've been blessed with two in particular that have very deep knowledge of the subjects that they're good at. And that just makes it easier on my life, because then I can concentrate on looking for clients and being able to get them to understand we have the deep knowledge. We have the ability to succeed what you're trying to succeed. I had another question and I seem to have lost it. And this is the CRS portion of my life, which means I can't remember shit.
Yep.
I actually have
my train of thought derails in the middle.
I actually have the coffee cup and think I'm going to bring it next time, just in case that ever happens again. So I can just hold it up and go, okay, we're moving on.
Yeah. It'll come back.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, if somebody wanted to get into something like starting a coaching program, because there are people online, including some friends of mine that are on Facebook that, let's get your program started. If somebody is even thinking about it, what are some of the qualifiers that they need to understand before taking off into the wild blue yonder? Because it is a launch.
It is. Have a plan. Not only have a plan for your actual course itself, and a solid plan. As somebody, most people can kind of teach a course, kind of like how I run my life, where it's like I see somebody who has had these results, and I go and I follow the same process. Find somebody that has results.
Yeah.
So, like for me, I can say this is one of the value adds I can give to my clients, is that I have proven results with this stuff. I know the formula is necessary. Some people can figure it out, but it's just easier to go with somebody who knows this stuff. As far as the coaching programs are concerned, a lot of people are like, well, I'm just going to get on and chat. Well, or they do too much teaching in a coaching call. There's an interesting balance you have to keep between the two of them. The other part is absolutely get marketing and whoever's designing your training together at the very beginning, first or second meeting. Marketing should be an integral plan. Sales marketing should be an integral plan of your training and your coaching program. And that should be something you should always think about making money on this, because that's really what you're doing. That's the value. It would be nice if I could train for free. It would be great, but experience doesn't pay my bills. Free doesn't pay my bills.
Last time I tried to pay my electric company in hugs, they didn't quite appreciate my, they were like, yeah, sure.
I actually, I'm probably going to misquote it because the shirt is literally brand new, but one of my clients is releasing a shirt that says, "Have you ever tried to pay your bills in hugs?" Yeah, I didn't think so.
I actually tried helping the gas company by offering them my gas in order to pay some of my bill, and they didn't like that either. That was,
No, probably not.
Yeah,
No.
the methane was not pure enough according to them, so it just is.
There we go.
Yeah, plus the sulfur smell wasn't quite the same. It just didn't work well.
It's a little different. Yeah,
it's a little,
just not quite.
It's a little,
right.
Yeah. They didn't want the sound with it either. They like their silent sound, and mine wasn't. So it's a different story completely.
It really is. It really is.
Okay, guys, we're going to take one more round of a break here. Another 30 seconds. Boy, did that just evolve really fast, didn't it? And we're going to take another short 30 seconds, and we'll be right back for our last wrap up. All right, guys, we're back. Thanks for hanging out with us here on Java Chat. I'm here with Andrew Chesnutt, and we're talking about educational engineering and creating your own little training session. And guys, don't think it's just for entrepreneurs. I mean, you consult with corporations too, right? I mean, if somebody needs to put together a training deal, you can help them with that. I mean, how different are the models?
Not very.
And that's what I thought.
Really. No, it's basically the same thing. The corporate world really likes a specific way of doing training, and it's been that way for 50 some odd years. I think that some of the companies that I'm seeing that are being really innovative with their training are doing more about that storytelling, side of things, telling your experience versus just spewing forth whatever it is.
It's a lot of onboarding that's doing that. I've been seeing that a lot around, even around here, stations, casinos. They're real big on sharing the story of stations and how it started and all that, and getting people on board. So I get that.
And that's where brain training comes in. We're wired to be emotional.
Yeah.
And it's training with emotion, and training with stories are emotional. Training with stories can be incredibly powerful.
Oh yeah.
You'll probably remember the plot to your favorite movie, but you won't remember what you just learned in your last training class, and that's the difference.
Got it.
That's a major difference. Yep. So just training. That's why I like to tell people I'm a storyteller. I tell your story. I help you tell your story. Is for that reason.
What's the process of going through telling your story? I mean, as far as your process is concerned, when you help, let's say if I came to you and I said I wanted to teach again, we'll talk about a new financial product. How do you approach that?
The first thing we do is sit down with a road mapping session, and what this does is it takes, like we were saying earlier, where you have your shoebox full of receipts and you head to your accountant and say, "Here, you figure this out." That's basically, bring me your shoebox. What do we have? And then, so that goes through what your audience is, what sort of marketing plan we're looking at, who you currently have in your marketing, or in your audience, like what sort of social media
Who's the
coverage do you have,
what's all that?
followers,
Yep.
Exactly, buyer personas, things like that. So that's part of what we do. But I also take a look at what information you're going to be presenting, and what your end goal is, who that, and just goes through every aspect that you could for this training. Then I will go through and make a roadmap out of it. And that roadmap is a guiding document that takes us for the rest of it. It's like a business plan for your training.
Sure.
And so you'll go back, we can go, and it has everything to price points, to this is when this is released, to here's the map of the course. Then it's a matter of making the course itself. A lot of the courses I'm doing now are video courses.
Yeah.
I tend to find that it's much easier to get up and going. So, I'll partner with a videographer in the client's area. We'll do it. Side note here, something that somebody told me a while ago, and I'm kind of wanting to start using this with some of my clients, is to charge admission for the filming sessions. So sort of an interesting thing.
I mean, if it's a part of the deal or a la carte, I mean, it's every agency has their packages and every agency has their a la carte deal. So it's not inappropriate. It's actually, it should be expected. Considering you're talking about videography, which is completely a specialty within the realm of marketing. Yeah. And if I'm not the videographer, I'm going to bring somebody in. You're going to have to pay them. Yeah. That just makes sense.
I have somebody in. Yeah. I usually have somebody I'll pull in, and the video editors. Again, I have a team behind me who does a lot of this as well. So I'm the main point of contact for my clients, but I have people behind me who are better. I could do video editing, but I'd rather it's better.
Yeah, as much as I'm learning it, I'm not looking forward to having to do it that much. And I think, honestly, if you look at it from that perspective too, it allows you to go ahead and create more value at a lesser price with the a la carte add-ons, because you never know what you're going to need. And the whole pricing versus value thing, there's two thoughts on it. One is package everything and they get what they get. The other is package it to a degree, and if there are add-ons, treat them as add-ons.
Or if a client has a videographer they want to use,
then let them hire them.
They can do it.
Yep, and then bring the content. Bring the content. We'll take care of the rest of it to the LMS. Yeah, that makes absolute sense.
Exactly.
So there's three
it allows
thoughts.
that flexibility. Yeah, and it allows that flexibility in pricing as well. So they can, I have my people that I've worked with. I just worked with this team really well. If you want it to be totally turnkey, I've got this. But if you want to use somebody else, you're welcome to.
Yeah.
The other thing it allows me to do,
actually makes work easier sometimes, depending on who it is that they're using.
Yeah, usually it does. And for me, though, what it allows me to do is to focus on getting them up and going for a coaching course. Part of what I do if I were to do a full course for somebody, is to also do a keynote speech.
Nice. Yeah.
And
those are always important.
It's one of the number one marketing. All of my clients use them, and that is the number one marketing for their course. You could do advertising, you could do all these things, they work. But if I get up on stage, because it goes back to what we were saying, where I can learn just about anything I want to on YouTube. There's a ton of information around me. I'm following that person.
Yep.
And getting on stage in front of other people brings that connection.
Yep.
And I've seen times when I've had
Isn't
clients
weird
on stage, and we've signed up courses for $2,000 a piece.
It's really
we've signed up
different.
10 people after a speech.
It's really different. Interestingly enough, I don't know what the psychological thing is about it, but when you see somebody on a stage versus just seeing somebody on a video, the amount of vestige mentally and emotionally in looking at somebody on a stage seems to be much greater. And like you just said, the result was 10 people at $2,000. It's like, yeah, that's expected of the actual model when you're live. And you can still do that on video as well.
For the most part on video, it's better to do it in person, just with how things are going right now. We are stuck with video at this exact point in time. So, we could still make it work. There are some slight tweaks that have to happen to make video work better. There's a different type of engagement that has to happen.
Yeah.
So it's slightly different. But yeah, the in-person is so much better. I prefer the in-person. You get it's like what Napoleon Hill called a mastermind.
Yeah.
You can do it like through Zoom. You can suboptimal. It's a much better way. It's much easier to get it in person. Yeah.
That's one of the cool things I learned about Zoom was that you can open up rooms after having like a summit style field. You can actually put people into other rooms. And there's a whole thing that we're doing with a summit that's coming up next year, where we're going to be able to do that, bring in everybody for a main catch, and then break everybody out into rooms that will have the breakout sessions and other speakers and stuff. And it's still not the same as an in-person summit, because the networking and things of that nature, there's still that whole thing trying to be figured out. But again, talking about the in-person and the live and the on-stage and the presence that is actually felt from somebody who's coming from an authoritative position, it makes absolute sense to do a keynote speech as part of the whole formula. And when you guys do that, you put that up in front, or is that just how does that work? How does that fit in?
So the way it works with the keynote speech part of the trainings is there's a PowerPoint involved. So you have a PowerPoint, and then I rehearse you through it. There's a very specific way to pitch without being pushy about it. And so what I'll do is I make it so that there's enough value that people will say, oh yeah, you're really good at thinking. And then you hit with a sales pitch into your course. So, there's a balance between that. And part of what I do is kind of train people how to actually do that speaking. How to transfer that information,
Awesome.
how to speak, how to actually do the sales without sounding salesy. If you sound salesy,
that's
people
always
shut
the
down
big.
right away.
That's always the big thing, right? When it gets to the pitch, it starts sounding salesy. That's a challenge.
It is. And a lot of people either think they have to go too hard or they don't want to sell. I see a lot of people like, well, no, I don't want to be one of those people. I'm not Billy Mays. I'm not the Shao-Wham guy. I don't want to be that thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to be. And so you don't have to be at all. There are ways
awesome.
where you can work around.
Cool beans.
Yeah.
So Yeah, dude, we hit it. In fact, we're past it.
I think we are.
which always blows because I always have a good time with my guests. And of course, our floor is always welcome. If you want to come back and share more, I would love to have you.
Sure.
Where can people find you?
It. If you want to find me, my website is nickelcitylearningsolutions.com.
Okay.
You can also find me on Facebook and on LinkedIn as well. Yeah. Or if you have any other questions, just email me directly, andrew@nickelcitylearningsolutions.com.
All those will be down in the comments, by the way, so that people will be able to just click on that and come right to you one way or another.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, here's the last question for you.
Sure.
And I ask this of everybody. What's the biggest challenge you're facing right now with your business?
It's growth. Growth is a good thing. Growth also means that I'm doing about 6 jobs at this point. So there's that transitionary period between when you actually have gotten to the growth that you want, and where you've started at point A, you're between point A and point B in your growth.
Right.
And for me right now, it's finding that balance without becoming a massive workaholic, because I'm a raging type A, and the workaholic thing can be a major issue. Yep. It's that moment where you're just kind of struggling. It's maintaining that balance. And for me, it's also, I give myself one day off a week. I mean, I come from the Great Cardone 10X world, but every day I'm taking that needle forward, but that also might just be, I answered my emails. I mean, giving myself that time to be able to say, I am not Superman. I need to back off a little. And also knowing when to ask for help. Guys don't do this well at all.
Type A's and type A's make it even worse. Yeah, totally.
Oh, they're terrible.
Yeah.
So I have a couple type A mentors. Because it feels better to ask questions like this of other type A's.
Sure.
But knowing when to ask for help and knowing when to say, you know what, I can handle this. I just need a cheerleader right now. Totally. I have a joke with one of my mentors where it's just, my email subject will be, I just really need a cheerleader. It just dumps on whatever happened. Again, I could handle it. Sometimes I know when I need to ask for help, and I know, and he's very, very good at that.
That's awesome. Right on. Well, as you all know, we only have so much time to do these, and we love every one of you. That never changes. We love that you stop in and take a listen, and I hope you got a lot of value out of this. And if you are somebody that's looking for, the ability to start your own course, online course, to teach somebody something that you think is of value, the links are down below. Feel free to click on any one of them. Get a hold of Andrew. He'll walk you through it. He'll answer by email. He's quick about it. I sent him the Zoom link this morning, and in a minute he already responded, which is great. Also, for those of you that are watching, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you subscribe, and hit the bell. The bell is what tells you when we have a new one posted, and we post at least 1 or 2 a week. And we get all of these great people that come in and share their time with us, share their stories, share their expertise. You're going to get something out of one of them. I highly doubt you listen to any of our podcasts and not learn something, or you're not listening, or you're too busy, which is fine, again. But thanks for stopping in. Oh, and if you're listening on any of the podcast platforms, we're on 12 of them. So from iTunes and Google Cast to Stitcher. And we just got on a new one today called Pod Chaser, I think is the name of it. It's like a feed. Yeah, definitely one that you want to check out if you haven't been on there. You find us on there, leave us a review. And if you're listening to us on Anchor, you can always support us. You can make donations. Every bit counts and helps this little podcast get a little higher in the rankings. We love every one of you. Thank you for listening. Remember, stay up, stay healthy, stay safe, and live. For Andrew and myself, to all of you, ciao for now.
For more information on Java Chat, visit www.javachatpodcast.com. You've been listening to Coffee with Mike on Java Chat. Tune in weekly to this podcast for the next episode. You can also download or subscribe today on your favorite podcast platform. A production of Oasis Media Group, LLC. Located in Las Vegas, Nevada. Copyright 2019. All rights reserved.